So thank you guys so much for joining the first songwriting class online here at Strum University. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join in. And hopefully you guys get a lot out of it, have a blast. I'm going to start just introducing myself. Some of you guys know me. My name's Matthew, and I've been writing songs now over the last decade or so. And had the chance to record quite a few of them and do some co-writes and things like that. So the title of this class today is called Intro to Songwriting. So what we're going to be doing is just going over the very basics of how to get started writing your own songs, maybe even some basics of how to co-write with other folks, and just kind of maybe even a little bit of theory that kind of goes into that. I'll be sharing kind of my own personal approach and like just having fun kind of sharing with you guys what I do. And obviously there's tons of people out there that have different opinions and approaches and techniques for songwriting. So everything that I say is going to be kind of from my personal point of view as a coach. And so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. You know, maybe there's some things that other folks too have to offer that you can also glean from. All right. So thanks again, everybody, for joining. I'm going to get kind of a little bit of a view of my piano here. Hopefully you can see a little bit of what's going on with my hands. And I'd love to just start today by sharing one of the songs that I've recently written with you guys, so you can kind of hear my style and what it's like to have like a little bit of an original on the piano. All right, so here we go. This song is titled Ready for Change. It's in the key of D, just in case you want to sort of follow along.
First things first, let's sit down and talk. I think we've talked enough for a lifetime. Don't you love? Let's go out and walk. We could hold hands down by the riverbed. 'Cause I'm ready for the change. You know I'm ready today. I think I'm ready just to take that leap of faith. You know I'm ready for the change. The seconds, hours, all the minutes and days. How do we keep track of the time we waste? We could make sense of all the things we don't understand. 'Cause I'm ready for the change. You know I'm ready today. I think I'm ready just to take that leap of faith. You know I'm ready for change. We've come this far, haven't we, love? Now we're not giving up. 'Cause I'm ready for the change. I think I'm ready today. I'm ready just to take that leap of faith. You know I'm ready for change.
Cool. All right, so there's an example of a little bit of songwriting. Hey, thank you. I hear you. I hear you. I see you. I see you and hear you. Hey, look, there's a parrot. of some kind. That's awesome. So feel free to turn on your mics or chime in on the chat if you want to. If you have any questions or you want to chime in on anything, I want it to kind of feel like a little bit of a communal thing here. But so that's an example of one of the songs I've written recently, and I just kind of want to present to you or break down for you a little bit of how the songwriting process worked for me. You probably noticed at the very beginning of the song, there's this kind of instrumental part. Okay, that actually was basically the inspiration for the whole song. Was just sitting down at the piano, kind of playing through some different things, and that part kind of really moved the song and inspired the song at the very beginning. And so, like I said in the beginning, we're in the key of D. So if you notice, that's just 1 and 4 is all that is. D. And you'll notice that I keep the D in the root. So really, technically, we're not even changing chords. I'm just playing a G over D for the second chord. So you can, this is hopefully to encourage you that maybe you're working on a lick, maybe you're working on like a little lead line or something like that, and you kind of feel like it's a leap to get from there to writing a song. But this should make it feel more accessible to you, that even just a little lick or a little part could be the inspiration for an entire song. So number one, I think, is treasure the small things. If you've got a little start of a melody in your head, or if you've got just a lead line that you're working with, or you've got a little piano hook that you're working with, okay, then that turns into the whole verse. So diving right into it, just kind of breaking down the sections. And again, this isn't a rule that you have to follow for songwriting, but what we're looking at with this particular song is we've got an intro, which is instrumental, and then we've got a verse, which is the first things first, let's sit down and talk. Okay, so we start with the verse, and that builds into a chorus, which is this section. 'Cause I'm ready for the change. Okay. So that's kind of the chorus feel. Then it jumps back to the instrumental after the chorus, just the octave lower. Then back into verse 2. So then we have another verse, another chorus, and then you have one more instrumental section, and then the bridge section, which was the... So really, in this song, you've got kind of one piece of pretty much what everyone that I've heard, excluding a few, use in terms of basic songwriting. Is you're going to have kind of a verse idea where you're conveying the idea of the song, you're saying something to kind of set the stage for where the song is going to go, and then you've got... that's got to go somewhere. That's got to blossom into kind of the greater idea, which would be like the chorus. Some people will throw like a little bit of a pre-chorus in there, which actually I do have sort of a pre-chorus idea in this. We could hold hands down by the riverbed, right? Would be the pre-chorus idea. So I left that out when I was talking about song form. You got me, Mike. I won't miss it next time. Sorry. But so we've got verse, pre-chorus, chorus, then verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus, and then instrumental, and then bridge. Now, if you guys have been learning covers, like I know that you have, because we all love covers, and Nick is actually amazing at teaching covers and being really, really right on with song form. So you guys should be familiar with what all these terms mean in terms of verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge. The only other term that you may see in there, like when you're learning different covers and things like that, would be a tag. So let's say after the chorus, you've got just a one line, one vocal line phrase or something like that. Tags are a great way to reinforce an idea that you've conveyed. So you could technically call at the end of that chorus when it goes, let's see, where could I start? 'Cause I'm ready today. I think I'm ready just to take that leap of faith. You know I'm ready for change. So that last "ready for change" could sort of be called a tag. So it's kind of where you reinforce or reconvey an idea that you've already stated in the song. So what you want to do, to just back up a little bit, is that's kind of the overview of what we're looking at in terms of an entire song. But some of you may be thinking, well, where do I start? And so what I was talking about a little bit earlier is I work pretty much 100% off of inspiration. And what inspiration means is that it's something that you're in the moment, you're playing music, or maybe you're not even playing music, you're driving in the car, and kind of an emotion or a thought or a tune or a melody comes to you. And inspiration is kind of that moment where you have that melody, or you have that thought, or you have that idea. And songwriting, I think, just basic songwriting, is being able to take that seed of an idea and just kind of allow that to blossom into a full-grown plant, full-grown tree, full-grown song. And over time, you kind of learn how to water that seed. What kind of nutrients does it need? What kind of lyrics can kind of foster the song? Now, if you'll notice in this song that we're talking about that I wrote, there's one cool thing that really happened at the very end after the bridge, is on the first line of the chorus when I sing "ready for the change," is I actually changed the chord progression at that point in the song. And so instead of walking from the D over F sharp to the G to the B minor, it actually walks straight up to the D major. Okay, and that's to help emphasize that I'm saying I'm ready for something to change. So as you're writing your songs, you can kind of take that idea and be mindful of how can I make this music, how can this music match what I'm saying? How can this music evoke what I'm saying and agree with what I'm saying in the lyric? And vice versa. If you've got a really kind of melancholy, more sad kind of instrumental going on, some people like singing happy lyrics over that. That's fine if that's your cup of tea. But it's cool when the music really matches in terms of what you're hearing audibly, but also what you're hearing with word and with lyric. So I want to open it up a little bit now and just pause from the instruction side of it and the presentation side of it, and just say, like, whether it's in the chat thing or whether you guys have any questions, now's a perfect time. If there's something that you're working on that you're stumped on, or anything like that, then please go for it. I see you. What's up, Chris?
How you doing? All right?
Good, man. Hey, Nick.
What's up, man? That was really good.
Hey, great. Glad you could join. I like seeing your guys' beautiful faces rather than just the name across the thing. But that's cool.
I was picking my nose. I didn't want anyone to look. No,
Yeah.
I just got to my hotel room. You don't even want to see what's going on in my room.
No? Oh, man. Okay. All right. Well, I won't ask then.
Okay, good.
Any questions about anything we've covered so far, or is there anything that you guys are working on that you would want to share a little bit of?
I had a question.
Yeah.
So I'm in a group now writing music, and
Yes.
the hardest part for me, I can come up with like music really easily, but the
Yeah.
hardest part for me is figuring out a melody.
Yes.
what's your process for figuring out a melody? So you have a chord progression or an idea. Do you just sing out stuff and play around with it, or do you have like a systematic approach of using certain notes of a chord, or you know?
That is an excellent question, Chandler. Did everybody hear the question? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, such a great question, and my answer to this is number one, patience, and number two, there's no set rule that I use for melody. So like I've had times where I've been driving in the car and I'll just literally kind of have a melody pop into my head, and I'll use that to work with in terms of a vocal melody. There's times where I have kind of a whole piece written out instrumentally and I have nothing melodically, and I don't even, it doesn't even really feel like anything's coming up for me in terms of melody wise, and I'm not singing over that. But if you, what I've found is if you're just patient a little bit and you continue to kind of work with that music and just allow that to soak a little while, it, what I've found is it kind of starts to draw out that melody, and it starts to kind of, things will start to pop into your head. And so for me, that's when I kick into kind of the perseverance gear, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to give up on this song, but also I'm not willing to force a melody that, because I've just never found that for me, that great melodies arise from like, okay, I've got to have a melody, I'm just going to come up with one. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit with this song, I'm going to be patient. And sometimes what I find too is moving on. Let's say you're working on that tune, you kind of hit a roadblock and you're, man, this melody's not really working for me. But you know what? I've really got this other thing that I'm working on too. So let me take a break and I'll come back to it. Does that help, Chandler?
Yeah, that helps a lot. Another question, kind of follow up with that, is do you primarily come up with melody by singing it, or do you ever come up with a melody just by playing some notes? Because for me, I don't sing very well, so it's hard for me to come up with a melody doing it that way.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think like that's an awesome way to come up with melodies, especially for you guitar players, because like when you guys play lead and stuff like that, it's almost like you're singing. It's almost like you're vocalizing this internal melody that you have. It's not just a series of notes or scales. Like, you know, anyone can play that scale, but to craft that uniquely into a melody, you guys are already really practiced at coming up with melodies, right? It happens in here and it happens up here. And so if you can kind of hear those melodies in terms of guitar, or piano or whatever you're using, I think that's a great way to come up with melodies, and I've done that many times. Sometimes I'll just hear one note, like I'll play, like one of my favorite chords is that 1/3, that D over F sharp in this case. As sometimes for me that just draws out, okay, like it draws out where my melody is going to begin, or it's a nice leading tone from there to there, from that D over F sharp to G. Yeah, I would say, Chandler, even if you don't feel confident singing, or for any of you guys, if you don't feel confident singing, plucking it out on the guitar is a great method. Playing it, if you have a keyboard is a really fun way to work out melody too, just because it's so linear. And it's a built-in scale, so it works low to high, up to down, and so you can use that to sort of foster those melodies.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, you got it, man. I'm really glad to hear you're working on writing stuff. Like I can't encourage you guys enough. Like, you may not feel like a professional songwriter, and you're not supposed to. You know, I was thinking the other day about how many songs out there are just 2 chords. You know, how many songs out there are just 3 chords? How many songs out there are a progression of 4 chords the entire song? And it's just a collective work of art. When I was a young boy, my mama said to me, that whole song is 2 chords. So don't be ever discouraged in your songwriting process. Is I think number one. Number two, I think collaboration is good. So if you have a chance to co-write with other people, they may inspire you, or they may have a missing piece of something that you don't have. So if you're just getting started writing songs, maybe a co-write is in order. I'll say this kind of again with a grain of salt, just from my own personal experience, is I like to sort of take a break from listening to music when I'm writing, because I want it to be something that's original to me and something that's special to me and something that I know that I'm coming up with because I'm creating that, and even if it turns out similar to something else that's out there, that's okay with me if I find that out after the fact. But I think a good safeguard from not just hearing music, digesting it, and then writing similar music is taking that time to go and be creative, to go and write songs, to go and come up with ideas that are fresh to you. And so the reason I say that is I think it can also be similar with co-writing. Is it's easy to co-write with people when you're in a good practice of forming your own songs or forming your own guitar parts or forming your own chord progressions. But there can be a little bit of a temptation there when you get together with people to lean on the strongest person in the group maybe has a stronger songwriting gift, and they sort of take charge, and it's kind of easy to follow that. It's kind of easy to let them lead the songwriting process, versus kind of each individual being a strong part of it, if you will. Okay, so we got a couple minutes left. If there's any more questions, I
had a quick question, Matthew.
Go, Shad.
When you generally start, do you generally start with the music, or do you start with the lyrics, and how do you kind of mesh the two together?
Great question. Every song for me has been different. Some have started, like I said, from just a vocal melody. Some has been like an idea that I've taken down, I've jotted down into my phone, like in my notes. Just this one-liner or this phrase or this couple of phrases. And then this song in particular, like I said, it just started with that piano part. That's how that song started. And as I played around with that piano part and as I spent time on it, the rest of the song started kind of coming together. And so I'm a big believer in start with what you've been given. Don't necessarily put the pressure on yourself to come up with a whole song. If all you've got is a piano part, start with that and work with that and let that kind of unfold into the greater song, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
And just one more, how do you remember where you've been during that process?
Oh yeah, I'm an avid note taker. I'm kind of sort of an analog type of person. I've got notebooks and pens, and I love writing out lyric, because there's something for me when in that writing process when I write lyric or I write chord progression or I write kind of the sequence of the song where I can see it and I can kind of, it's almost like having a rough draft where you're seeing those pieces and seeing how they're taking shape. So I like writing things down. Some people will make voice memos. Like if you have a smartphone, usually they have, a recording feature, or you can record using, if you have some recording equipment, just jot, I think that's the good thing is don't feel like it has to be perfect before you record something. You can record an idea that you're working on and then come back to it, and that's a good way to keep track of where you're at. So, all right, who else has got a question? We got a couple minutes left. I know Chris is aching to know how Nick gets his hair to look like that.
So a total aside from what we're talking about, this is a home quarantine haircut. Ashley cut my hair on Saturday.
Oh,
so
right on.
If
You need it up close.
Yeah, extra pointy. That's why she did an okay job.
Yeah.
She did a good job. You should hire her.
Yeah.
I know. I could start saving a lot of money.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're hired. That's the way to go.
That's
Right
awesome.
My wife just cut my hair too.
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah. I was gonna say it looks pretty snazzy there.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it's not a bowl cut, Nick. That's what we used to rock in my family.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I had a bowl cut for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Times are tough, man. You got to do haircuts at home now.
Okay. Guys, this has been an absolute blast. I just saw your chat thing now, Mike. So did that answer your question?
Same question, basically. Just I mean, because I've always been more words than music
Yes.
because I never could play an instrument.
Okay.
So I'm starting to play an instrument, and I wonder, well, okay, how do you marry those two?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's an excellent question. And for me, it's been, I think time is an important part of that recipe. And again, not forcing anything, but just let the melody come to you, and let that natural kind of guitar playing that you're working on, let them kind of find their way together as you spend time on those songs. I really think that good songwriting is meant to happen, and it works kind of off this inspiration. And so we kind of just get to be a part of the process and just kind of steward that, those kind of, to me, it's kind of a gift. So it's kind of, you just get to steward that type of thing. That's at least been my approach. But so there you have it, guys. That's our intro to songwriting class. Hopefully you got some good stuff out of it. I'm gonna end the recording here. You can stay on for a moment in case you have any other follow-up questions or whatever.